Okay, welcome everyone.
Welcome to another Focus Fridays.
We're at half the year's gone already. We're in June already.
Yeah, you'll notice there's an extra person here today. Somebody you probably all know by the name of, loosely known as Bro, Mark Nesson. Say hi, Mark.
Hi, guys.
Mark's going to be talking. He's got something to tell us about a little later. So other than that, I mean, we've got stuff going on every month. Next month, we're going to be talking about table basics, HTML5 graphics, and maintain and server config files. So you might want to put that one as soon as you see actually it's out there. You can sign up for that now. So if you're interested, sign up for it and join us. So having said that, I guess the lead off is going to be Mr. Derwin. You want to take it away?
Well, do we want to discuss filling out surveys when we're done before I get started?
I guess not.
That's a good idea. I mean, we will remind you, it's when you exit, after you exit, you'll actually be asked to fill out a survey. Please do. That tells us how we're doing, and it gives you a chance to ask us any questions that you may not have thought of at the time, or that you wanted basically to just, or comments you want to make. That's the place to do it. We see those, we take a look at those. So
you will get a message. You will get a message that you're being redirected to something outside of the WebEx theme base area. And that's just letting you know that it's going to somewhere else.
Right.
We have an external survey area.
Do not be afraid. It is okay. All right.
If you have questions, ask them in the chat or ask them in the Q&A. If you have a question, let's say put it in the Q&A. If you have a general comment, put it in the chat. Right. You can always unmute yourself and say, excuse me, I have a question. But usually one of us who's not presenting is reviewing the chats. And if you put it there, we'll let the person know. If you have any problems, generally hitting F5 will refresh your browser and take care of most of the issues. If you want a copy of the presentation, you will get a copy of the presentation and the video sometime early next week, probably Tuesday. And now coming in like a follow-up email about the session.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right, Mark, ready?
Over to you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm going to share. Today we are going to have a cautionary tale dealing with static objects in Maintain. And let me get there. All right. What are static objects? Static objects are things that don't change. So if we have a list box or a radio button, and we have true, false, or a traffic light, red, yellow, green, you could say, Mark, those are static objects, and those are never going to change. So I could create a drop box, a list box, a radio button with those items. Or my hospital only has 5 departments. So I'm going to create a static Dropbox with just those 5 departments. And I'm going to tell you never, ever, ever to do this. Now, why not? Well, let's get into the presentation. Okay, so these objects again, such as any selection item, can be populated by a stack or have static values. For those of you who've never heard me speak about Maintain before, a stack is an array of data that gets loaded from the database, from a form, from another Maintain, from a table, etc. But that stack is loaded from a data source and is completely dynamic. A static value, you literally have to hard code the values into the object. In Dev Studio, and yes, I'm going to be talking about the older days because a lot of this presentation is a warning when we migrate from Dev Studio to App Studio. We had a command called list items, and we could reference the object, form.object.list_items, and we could use that to determine what was the row number that was selected from one of these objects, and we could even use it to preset the object. The thing is, in App Studio, we don't have that command. So when we started doing migrations, anytime there were static objects, we ran into issues. So now let's see where we are. when it comes to migrations and static objects. All right. You guys can see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So again, you had your choice of hard coding or using a stack. Now, I always recommend using a stack. These can come again from your database. They can be computed. We could run table commands to extract the data and put them in the boxes. It's always dynamic. Hard-coded values, the roughest thing about hard-coded values is when you wanted to make a change to them. You would have to go into Dev Studio. You have to go into App Studio. You have to open the form. You have to open the data object and literally go in and either add, edit, or remove an item. It's much harder to change and it's much harder to manipulate. So this is a representation. This is a picture from Dev Studio. I figured I'm not going to go live with Dev Studio. So when you created a list box, a radio button, a drop box, you had the option of either saying as entered here or from a variable. Again, from a variable is a stack, it's dynamic, it's easy to use. Entered here, we can enter the values and either delete them or keep adding additional values, typing directly into the control. One thing that's very important, and most of my users do have that, is they assign a selected items. This is the most important part of doing things that were static. If you didn't have an out value, it was hard to determine what the user picked. That was part of the list items command, which I'll show you the code in a second. Also note that this is not a multi-select list box. Any item that has a multi-select list box has to have a stack as the selected items because a variable can only hold one value. So here is the code. I'm computing a variable. Out value is A10. Again, that was my selection 2 variable. So when the user made a selection, I could press my button and see that the value, the out value, would be the selected value. So in this case, it's false. Of course, if the user clicks true, the out value would be true. Now let's look at list items. The list items command was only used for static objects. And by computing list items form1.listbox1.listitems.focindex to 2, I'm able to determine which row of the list box my cursor starts on. Also note I had to do a WinForm show inactive. That's not really important now. I could preset the value by computing it, and then I could get the value by computing a variable to the form, the object.listitems.focindex. Very straightforward in Dev Studio, and while I don't recommend doing it, it was effectively available. The issue comes with migration, or came with migration. When we move our maintain applications from pre-A2 into A2, we need to migrate your maintain applications. And this is because WinForms are no longer a thing in App Studio. Everything is done on the HTML page. So certain WinForm set commands are completely changed and gone. Other techniques are completely changed and gone. And we've discussed this during our sessions. But let's look at what happens here. Where I had compute form1.listbox1.listitems.focindex equals 2, our migration changed that. It created a new stack called form1_listbox1 and gave it a field of list items. Again, it's no longer a command. Now it's just a field. A0 is an unlimited alpha. If it has 5 characters, it's an A5. If it has 100 characters, it's an A100. I don't use it a lot, but it actually is pretty good to use. So now that I have a stack, I can just compute the folk index to 2 and retrieve the index by looking at the stack.folkindex. Effectively, we're assigning a stack to a static object. So even though the static object isn't coming from a stack, it's going there, and we can manipulate that to set and get our values. So when we look at the properties, again, the data type is static, not dynamic, which would be if we use the stack. Two values are displayed, true and false. I have true selected first, but I'm going to overwrite that by computing the folk index. Out value, which is the selection true or false, and TF, which is the name of the application, form1 underscore listbox1 dot list items. This is just going to be the index. So when I run, and actually, let me see if this will run, because I don't have this one set up. All right, we'll do the next one. So when we run, when we first start, false is selected because we set the folk index to 2, and the out value is false because we're selecting false as opposed to true. Basically, what we've done is we've taken the functionality of the static object and we've made it more dynamic. The input is still static, but the way we get the output is a little more dynamic now. And the migration is much better. If you are a company that's going to be migrating your pre-8.2 maintain applications from Dev Studio to App Studio, I beg you, go to release 9, not to a late 8207. All right, so what if we want to create our own? We'll create a brand new item. So here we have a list box. It's a static list box, but when I show the value, I can get the color, the index, and the value. And I can force a movement to a certain row. And all this is done in our code because we have our out value, which is again going to be the red, blue, red, yellow, or green. The color, which is a field in our out stack, and our folk index, which we're allowed to set. This works exactly fine. Keith, what are you requesting to do?
Sorry, that was an errant button push.
Oh, okay. Not sure how to get out of this. I don't know how to get out of this. All right. Oh, that worked. Okay. I want to show you something kind of cool. This, when we ran it, it showed us the value, the index, and the out value. And I thought it was kind of neat because when I was testing, I wanted to make sure it worked for all of the selection items. So when I ran it for a Dropbox as well as a list box, it worked fine. Did I shut that screen? So here's my Dropbox. But then, since I grew up in a QA environment, I said, hey, let's make sure that radio buttons work too. That's just a great little technique in App Studio where you can actually change your object real quick. And I found that being able to do that worked. However, I was getting an index instead of the proper color. So I'll be working with programming to fix that. But even if that fails, I can still get my values using the stack.sub value as opposed to the out value. Because in maintain, there are 12 ways to do everything. And again, just real quick, my out values can be the out stack and the color, the out stack and the folk index, or the variable out value. Okay, we saw the runtime. All right, so I never recommend using static objects. Things will change. Having to open up your form in one of the tools is a real problem. It's easier just to compute the values into the stack or get them from your database. If you ever need static objects, we are giving you the ability to now to preset them and grab the values. It's just easier to use dynamic. All right, that's all I have. I'm stopping sharing. If there are any questions, please ask them now, or you can always send me an email or open a case. I always like to say, I also like to say, if you're brand new to Maintain and you'd like to see what some of those capabilities are, you can open a case and request my self-study class, and I'll be happy to help you develop your sample or starting applications. With that, I return to the Walters.
All right.
Okay, my turn. I'm going to talk about multiverbless requests, or multiverb requests without having the multiverbs. So I've talked about this before. We're going to go over what I've talked about before. This is multiverbless aggregation redo, part 2. Reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it.
Redux.
So it's basically, well, it's French, so it's redo, like redo. All right, so let's just jump into it. So here I have a multiverb request. Well, before I can get to multiple, we need to get to single. So a table file car, sum dealer cost end. There's only one verb, one sum, single verb. This is what you're all used to. We can do one verb and do sum dealer cost by country, and then add another verb, sum dealer cost by country by car. So the first sum aggregates by country only, where the second sum will aggregate down to the car level. And then your output becomes this. So 37,000 is the total for all of England. And then you have the individual values for the cars after that. And we show an example doing 3. So we take the 2 we had before, we had an extra layer. Notice that when you do a multiverb, your bys have to expand. So the first one is by country. The second one has to then build on that. So it's by country, by car. Anything after that would have to build on that also. So we have by country, by car, by model. Okay, we have a setting. Let's go back and back. So notice we have 3 different dealer cost values or columns in our output report. We have a setting called duplicate col, which you can turn off. And what that does is it takes those 3 identical columns and layers them. So now I have at the England, the full value for all of the England dealer cost. And then at the car, you have all for Jaguar, and then underneath you have the individual details. So it kind of gives you a tree of the values. Okay. The first multiverbless was using within. So instead of using within, or instead of using the multiverb, we can say within a by field, and then we would aggregate within that by field. So in our double verb scenario, where we have sum dealer cost by country, sum dealer cost by country by car, I can sum dealer cost within country, and then dealer cost. The one that doesn't have a within, the second dealer cost, will be at the lowest by level. So in this case, it would be at the car level. So when I run this, I get the dealer cost first column is at the country level. Oops, too soon. And the second one is at the car level. Okay, so we've done this before. What makes this new? And this is just for the 3. We have the 3 sums by country lowest, by car lowest, and by model lowest. So in the within world, it's sum within country, sum within car, and then the actual value, which would be by model, since that's the lowest sort order. There's the output. Okay, so the new part, the redo. We can do the same type of calculation using the new partition aggr function. So you get the same functionality as within. You get more control, and I don't go into the details of the control, Walt did a session, I want to say in February or March, talking
partitioning,
all
yeah.
about the partition functions. So if you want to get in depth, I suggest you look at that. If you can't find it, we can send you the information on it. Let's see. So I have it's the same functionality as within, and it plays better with SQL. And I've actually seen cases where a customer was trying to do something with a within, and he was doing a last on a date in relational world, and he was trying to go out to an SQL script, and it wasn't optimizing because the within wouldn't optimize. So I had them change it to partition aggr, and at that point he was able to create the SQL script. So that's why I say it plays better. I was hoping to say it'll optimize all your SQL, but when I tried to show examples for the session, I wasn't seeing that. So it'll play better. You have a better chance of better optimizing. All right, so how do you do this? So in our sum dealer cost by country, sum dealer cost by country by car, we're going to replace the within that we had before with a compute. So we're going to sum compute country, and I'm calling it country dealer cost. Nice long field name. To D9, and the function is partition aggr. The first entry in the function is the field that you're aggregating. So in this case, I'm aggregating dealer cost.
Mm-hmm.
The second field is the grouping. So within what? So this is going to be within country, and the field you use here has to be a by field. You have to have a by reference. The next two fields are for windowing. So you have the start of the window and the end of the window. So here I have B for beginning of the group and E for the end of the group. And the last field is the function that you're going to do on the aggregation. In this case, we're doing a sum. You can do most of our standard prefix functions. So AVE dot, max, min, all of those will work, including standard deviations, surprisingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
The B and the E, the begin and the end, this is where you actually get more control, more power out of your calculation. Because if you don't want the sum for the whole group, let's say you want to do, let's say you're summing by month and you want to do a 3-month window. You want to take the sum of the value of the current month, or let's say average between the current month, the previous month, and the next month. I can use partition aggr and start at the -1 of the current position to the +1 of the current position and say I want the AVE, I want the average. So it will give you the average of those 3 rows, the one before, the current row, and the one after. I can do from the top row of the group to the current row. So that would be beginning to C would be current. Okay, so there's a lot of power there. And I believe that's all in Walt's presentation, all the parameters and what you can do with it. So we run this and we get the same output. It's a little different format. It's more like the within. Okay, and then this is the triple. So I have 2 computes. One uses the country as the grouping. The second one uses the car. And again, because dealer cost isn't a function, it's just a value, it's going to be aggregated by the lowest sort order, in this case, the by model. And we get the same output here. And that's all I have.
Cool.
Any questions? So you have multiple verb, you have within, and then you now have partition aggr. Now we had a little chat earlier today. Which is more efficient? It all depends on the number of rows you're going to be processing. So if you have millions of rows, the best performance, the best time that your query is going to run is if you do multiverb, the true multiverb. It might not, it depends now, again, because if you're going relational and you have to bring all that data back and let Focus then do the aggregation, the cost of going across the pipe might not be worth Focus doing the work. So you have to see. But from a standard Focus point of view, the multiverb would be more efficient than the within and then the partition. So any questions? Nope, I'm not seeing any.
I'm not seeing any
Wait, something-
questions.
There's something in chat, maybe.
Oh, nothing in chat.
I cannot hear the presentation.
Function key 5.
Make sure that your speakers and your audio configuration is, well, she can't hear me, so I'll reply to Cassandra.
Has to be a compute, yes.
Yeah, in order to use the partition agger, there's also a partition ref, where if you do a -1 reference, you get the same as the last function. But it also lets you take, I want to compare the current value with a value that's 2 rows down the block. How cool is that?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Blood.
Okay, let me share. And let's pick 2, screen 2. So that's where it's going to go. And share, and let's then run this. Come on, baby. There we go. All right. I want to talk about just a couple things to add on to what Walter said. The partition agger has an enormous amount of functionality. You can also adjust the value from the data field that you're getting. You can use prefix operators on the data value to adjust the value at that point, independent of the actual operation that you're going to apply in the aggregation. So there's a lot of functionality there, and it's really kind of cool. And it does allow you to build that window so you can see before and after where your current position, or later, or forward and backward from the current position in the data, which is very useful. One other thing is that notice that most of the time we're dealing with where we have to nest our bifields. Now, if you don't want to nest your bifields, you're going to have to move over to another part of the focus language, match. And match will actually allow you to do some of that functionality without nesting. In other words, you can bring together things that don't really have any sort order that's the same. And it does give you quite a bit of functionality there too, in terms of the kinds of differences that you can play with. I want to spend a little time, and it's not going to be a lot because we want to get Mark on, talking about modify, which is another part of the focus language. The focus language is enormously varied. Modify is one of the big pieces that we have. You can use it not only for modifying data transactions, which is what it's initially designed for, but you can also use it for reporting, and it's kind of interesting. So I wanted to give you a quick introduction. Some of the strengths of using modify for reporting are controls that you don't necessarily have in the world of table. And table is what you're currently using when web focus. The dominant engine that we're using is the table engine. You're going to have data retrieval control. You can get multiple paths simultaneously. You can work with multiple files simultaneously. You can work with multiple flat files via fixed form, which is actually kind of useful. You get calculation control too. You can have variable calculations per record. Normally, when you bring a record in and you apply table to it and you apply define to it, all the defines that are set up are going to be run against that. They're all the same for each record. Now, with modify, you have the ability to actually change those. You can have different defines running against different pieces of the data record depending upon data values in the record if you want. You can have multiple variable sources for the data, and you can change the calculation sequence. Okay, this is all possible because of the way that modify works. Modify doesn't work on set processing. Modify takes one record at a time, processes it, and then goes and gets the next record. Okay, it's effectively slower, so it's not something that I'm going to use on a 1,000,000-row table. All right, that's not going to be what you're doing. It's really useful where you have to have output that's going to be different for maybe data dependent differences. All right, the output in modify, you've got variable page formats. You can set up multiple formats per page. you can create multiple page formats per report. All right. The idea here ultimately is that you've got in one pass the ability to do both the extract files and the report formats, and they can be different. Right? You've got those kinds of controls with Modify simply because of the way Modify works. You can work with Modify only. Basically, if you're doing that, you're going to be relying on type on or insert to generate either an output file, some kind of a flat output file, or a data file. Or you can work with Modify followed by table, and that's sometimes a reasonable thing to do. You may want to do the retrieval with Modify simply because of the data calculations that may be data dependent that you need to do. You might take that, format the extract file with table on, with type on, and then finally format the report using table, and that could be done in WebFocus as well. And you could even do table followed by Modify. The retrieval is done with table. The format hold can go into some sort of a table or an offline to a data set. And you can then actually adjust and construct a page using Modify based on that data file. So there's a lot of there are possibilities here, and it's the kind of thing that you wouldn't. It's to solve specific kinds of problems. Basically, when you're working with modified file by table, you're going to process the data in Modify. The I/O control basically you have is that you can handle multiple paths and files, and you can actually explicitly direct the I/O that you're going to be doing. All right, you can literally go from one file to another file based upon the case that you're going to be working in. Modify has case logic, right? Case logic allows you to construct any kind of navigation path that you want. And that is where the beauty of this thing comes in. Data selection can be variable by record. Data calculation can be variable by record. You can save the report using type on DD name and finally format the report using table. Table followed by Modify. We're going to be summarizing formatting the data in table. We might format a report page in table and then offline it out to an image, and then finally adjust that image using Modify. And it depends on what you ultimately have to do. So it's really the kind of thing. Now, the basic tools of Modify are fairly simple. What are they? They're the language that they have in Modify. Combine and fix form, which has to do with data retrieval. Match and next has to do with the language that we use to traverse the data file that we're working with. And you have controls. You can go look for a specific value, or you can just next through the data file that you're working with. You have navigations where you can use with if and go to and perform. And if you have calculations to do, they can be done with compute. One of the big ones is lookup, which allows you to go and get data from other files that may be available to you. You can also build an internal matrix in Modify. Using hold and sort hold and get hold, you actually have the ability to build a matrix, process it, and then pull data out of it as you need to. Finally, the type on and CRT form are there for display purposes. Very simple case. Person file, pretty simple. It's got 2 segments, or it could be 2 separate files. I'm going to next down the person, and if I have something, I'm going to go to the get date, and if you see here, if I've got something, I'm going to do 3 possible things. I'm going to look and see at the dinfo1 field if it's equal to 1 thing. I'm going to perform write 1. If that field is equal to d.field 2, I'm going to perform something else. The complexity that you can build in here is phenomenal. All right, this is where you have the ability to actually have a column that has different data or different types of data in every potential column. The data could be coming from different places. It could be different types of data, and it's entirely under your control. I'm just typing this out. The same thing. Here's a case where we're working 2 different files via combine. And again, you've got the same case logic that's going to allow you to work through, get the data, and actually finally pull it out and put it into something that you can process subsequently. The complexity is simplified by using the case logic rather than by using multiple defines. All right. Within the table world, you've got the ability to generate defines, which gives you an enormous amount of calculation capability, and you have computes, which basically you can do post retrieval. With the logic in modify allows you to work one record at a time, and you can take it through any path that you want, and that path is can be totally data dependent. It's up to you to set that up. So take a look at it's a possibility. You can place different fields in the same column if you need to. This does reduce the multiple if then else requirements that you're going to typically find when you try to do this kind of stuff in defines or in table. You can vary your grouping for calculation, and it's completely controllable. Retrieval using combine allows multiple variations. You can move through the structure based upon data values, not necessarily by, those data values are available to you. You determine what those data values are rather than allowing the data value, the structure of the file to do it. There are alternate paths that are available to you by internal or external values, certainly. And finally, you have a way of handling short paths using nonext, which is nomatch, which is a very good way to pick up and grab those and make sure that if you don't need them, get rid of them. So you do have the way to handle that sort of thing. And that's the key to modify, basically, when you're playing in the reporting world, is its infinite flexibility. Not something to be used with monstrous data sources. If you're going to do something with modify, it should be the complexity of the output that determines what it is, not the complexity or the size of the initial data that you're working with. So that is a real quick introduction, and I'm going to now, are there any questions about that? Stop sharing. Go back over to here.
I don't see any.
Okay. And okay, I'm going to turn this over now to Mark. Bro.
Right. Let me share my screen and then I'll get started. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great, great. So
it's cluttered.
Before everybody, a little introduction about myself. My name is Mark Nesson. I work for Dan Ortolani in support. I run the ATS group, Advanced Technology Services. And today it's my honor to present something brand new. We're going to be talking about the Open Data Hub for Mainframe. And what that is, again, explicitly Mainframe, right? But before I start, I wanted to thank a few people because it's not just me. There's a plethora of people that I'm dealing with. So I come up with these ideas or I hear an idea from someone else. And this team behind me is very important to mention. I'm going to start with engineering group. Jim Pievsky, Yefrem Spratzva, Sergio Loeb, Shu Chung, also some others, Jojo Moscato for helping me with all the doc. I'd like to thank Dan Ortolani, VJ, and Ali Ahmed for allowing me to work on this, right? We want to resurrect the mainframe. I'm thinking also Vito DiMartino and Tom Willett. So these are the guys, as well as my team, Steven Zerkiev, Mitch Howardy, Lou DeTorres, Sal Habaika, and am I forgetting anybody else there? Lou, Sal, and Dennis Cullen. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, guys. And what this is going to do is we're going to allow...
Bro, did you mention Sergio?
Oh, I did mention Sergio.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Of course I did.
Sorry.
All right. So anyway, let me get to the presentation. So what we're going to be talking about today is the Open Data Hub for Mainframe. And what that is we're going to have an introduction, some opportunity, Open Data Hub for Mainframe, overview, live demo, and next steps, where we are and what we're doing. So what we see, actually, Ali, Ahmed, and Dan Ortolani and myself were speaking about the mainframe, right? Let's resurrect the mainframe and see what we can do with it, and how do we resurrect it and keep it moving forward. As you all know, the server on the mainframe can be accessed with web focus. That's a given. What we're doing is opening it up to other tools and allow other tools to access the reporting server that can do miracles, as well as leveraging the existing master files that you have on the mainframe. So for existing focus customer and web focus customers, we can leverage that data that you've spent years developing. Okay. Open Data Hub for Mainframe empowers users to access and utilize the full power of mainframe data without having to move the data from the mainframe like System Z or System I. It was funny, I was talking to a customer this morning, and he says, you know what, bro? As soon as you move the data, it becomes obsolete. And that kind of rung in my head, and I'm saying he's right? What does it cost to move that data from the mainframe to a distributed environment or something else? How much time is taking place to move that data? How are you moving the data? Additionally, it leverages and extends the power of visualizations of other third-party tools like Power BI, Tableau in a secure and simple manner. If I ask questions here, can I get hands raised, or would I see that, Walter Blood, or no?
It's a good question. I don't know whether that is WebEx set up.
So what I'm asking, and
There's a little pop-up that shows who raised their hand, but it doesn't stay long. But we'll let you know.
Right. So what I'm asking for, how many customers here use other third-party tools in their environment for visualizations, meaning not just web focus, but have Power BI, Tableau, Spotfire, MicroStrategy, you name it, right? Imagine allowing those tools plus web focus to access the mainframe data and report against it. Think of how lucrative it can be for you and all of our customers that have maybe, 100 developers in Power BI, but can't get at mainframe data or Tableau. Imagine leveraging all the data and metadata that you've already spent years building on the mainframe.
You want to ask them to raise their hand?
Yeah, can you raise your hand if you're using other third-party tools or visualization tools?
There were about 10 when you had asked that came up.
Great.
Okay.
I presume those tools are, like I said, Power BI or Tableau or Spotfire or MicroStrategy. So where am I going with this? Primary targets that I'm looking for right now are web-focused mainframe customers and focus customers, and potentially down the line, new mainframe customers. I have a number of people I talk to that work in New York and are looking at, they have tools like Power BI. They said, we can't get at the mainframe. It's killing us. And we're spending all kinds of money moving that data. And as soon as we move it, it is obsolete. What about combining those data sources from legacy to modern systems without moving it? Allow visualization dashboards, portals from third-party visualization tools, and access the data without having to change the metadata that you built. And again, we leverage existing mainframe security like ACF top secret or RACF. Very important. In this topology, you're going to see a diagram, is we go directly from the tool with a special connector that we built right to the mainframe and access the data. So we allow secure information from the mainframe to be accessed or visualized on whatever BI tool necessary without having to have an in-depth knowledge of the mainframe system. So we're sheltering you from that. So as long as you have a mainframe systems programmer that can install the product, which you can probably install, let's say in a half hour to an hour, you're ready to roll. And you guys that already have the web focused server and focus on the mainframe, you've already got all the data adapters you want to see. We utilize the zip specialty engines on the mainframe. So what that does is take the workload off the general purpose CP and uses the cheaper engines to access the data on the mainframe. And you'll see that later. We've integrated the console to show you if you're using those specialty engines or not. For all of you that have other products and you have our server, we're going to utilize those engines. We're going to provide savings to our customers by minimizing the general purpose CP. Native adapters for all mainframe data sources, and support for current and back releases of ZOS. So today's topology and tomorrow's vision. Today's topology, what you have is you have web focus, you have a web server, you have our cluster load manager, and you have the reporting server. And that reporting server can get at it pretty much any data you want, right? You could even, we have customers accessing Oracle and SQL Server from the mainframe. So imagine be able to take that green screen that you have and expose it to a visualization tool to generate reports. So today's topology is here, and then tomorrow's vision is the Open Data Hub for mainframe. So Open Data Hub's going to allow your other tools, not as well as Web Focus, to put in a load balancer and get at Open Data Hub on mainframe. A lot of new things have been developed. Yefrem did some magic with Unicode. It's all in this adapter. Shu Chung, amazing job on reclustering, re-leveraging clustering to work with these BI tools. On the mainframe, as you know, you have so much real address space. So you would need multiple servers if you want to have, 100 or 200 or 1,000 users using it. Allow it to do clustering with different algorithms, a random algorithm, a smart algorithm, a round robin. All these things will be available to you to use. Open Data Hub for mainframe, right? What's so good? Reliability Z stands for zero downtime model. Do you know that the mainframe had the fastest CPUs that are out there today? Mm-hmm. So you can handle, it's running about 5.4 gigahertz. So that's how my mind's thinking. Most machines run at about 3 gigahertz. Imagine the benefit and speed, which you'll see in a few minutes. Again, leverage those security packages, ACF, RACF, ACF2, Top Secret, as well as LDAP. That's another thing that's enabled on the server. So mainframe systems remain the choice of the enterprise core customers and financial services, the government, and other industries. Very important. Demonstration, here we go, and then we'll jump back. So we're going to start. Are there any questions before I move on? Well, you're excited to see the demo. I know that because I'm always excited to see this. Okay, so we'll start here with the reporting server that's running on the mainframe. Where do I have it? Let me get this. I got to move this down a little bit. Sorry, guys. So this server is running on a mainframe on our environment. It's listening on port 15121. Notice some of the things on the right, what I did. For you people that are familiar with the server, usually you connect to the default service. What I've done is expanded it to actually show you what tools connecting. Imagine being able to go back and say, oh, I have 3,000 Tableau users. I have 5,000 Power BI users. I'm also talking about Swirl there for our JDBC developers, and as well as Jaspersoft and Cognos. Imagine this. Imagine the vision. Wow, you're telling me I can leverage that reporting server that we've got with all these other tools. Also here, what I'm going to show you is I'm using the magic of our server. Let me close this and show you what I'm doing, is I can go here and I can monitor via the live console. The live console is like a tail minus F on the edit print to see what's going on. These are all enhancements to the reporting server on the mainframe. So I'm going to start with Power BI. Oh, there's two other people I forgot. Steve Brayford and Patrick Cuban. Steve Brayford's and Patrick are very good on the front end. I'm more of a systems guy, but was able to develop my own things as well. So let me bring up Power BI. So I brought it up, and this is something that is written with Power BI. And they're all going to be going against a student golden record that was created by Matt Capraro, who I leveraged throughout the environment. So this is going against the mainframe as well as Power BI. If you know how it works, there's two modes it works with. It brings the data down to the PC like in a caching mode, kind of like to focus hold files, or we can go directly against the mainframe consistently. And again, Yefrem, thank you for that feature as well. So let's get going here. Let me bring down data to show you that it's coming from the mainframe. So I'm going to say refresh, and this is going while I'm refreshing. Let me go to the mainframe and show you my mainframe that's running. Whoops. So you can see in here, these are my starter tasks / batch jobs that are running on the mainframe. This mainframe, as you look at, it's running at 100% CPU, just to equate where we are. So the mainframe, as you know, we're always busy. We want to keep using it, but I wanted to show you, and look at this, what it's doing in the live console. It's refreshing and bringing the data down. You can see the connections going live to the mainframe console. So once that data is down for Power BI, you can then start building and slicing the data instead of using a green screen. Look at that. The data is moving. I could say only show me female, only show me male against that data. So that data came down from our mainframe server. It's now cached locally. Hold on. What is this? Annotation request? Should I don't know, approve? I don't know. Anyway, this is what's going on there, right? So that data came down. But one of the other magics, right, is you can now leverage these tools and have some type of caching mechanism, kind of like focus hold files. Uh-oh, what happened to my thing? I clicked on annotate. Does everybody see I got the mouse there now?
No, we see the thing where you can draw.
Oh,
Yeah.
what if I, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like
Can
a
you
pen.
close the annotate window?
Where's the other window?
You have to close the annotate. I think it was in the top left. It's a weird place.
Or you might have to go all the way up where the share bar is and do other options maybe.
If anybody knows, if they could tell me, it'd be helpful.
Hit escape. That should usually clear it.
No.
There was like a little square. I thought it was on the far left that I was able to shut it. It wasn't any of it was like a separate thing altogether.
I don't know if somebody can look that up and just let me know, please. I'm going to say,
Mark, you have just a pointer now. You're good, I think.
okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. The other thing I want to show you, so this is running a report. It brought the data down from the mainframe. So now we're going to go in and we're going to, oh, now it's back again.
Oh, maybe it was my mouse. I don't know.
Did anybody figure out how to turn that off?
Mark, there is like a squiggle on the right. Do you see like a little squiggle on the right side of your screen close to the top? I cannot see your full screen. That's why I cannot like really tell you what's going on.
Yeah, bro, it says to stop annotating, tap end, and then choose where to save.
Oh, now you have a pointer again, Mark.
I know. Let me see what I could do here.
Maybe that's no. I mean, not the marker, the pointer.
You know what?
Yeah, this is good. I'm good.
Looks
So
like...
here's another one, and this one is going to go directly against the mainframe. Every time it runs a request, it's going to go live against the mainframe. Right? So we got multiple nodes to do this with. We can go and put this back. You see the bottom, it's going live. You see that little thing moving, right? What magic this could be. Operational data. I want the truth of the data every time. So data that's in flux, you're updating VSAM or whatever other data on the mainframe, you can get it live to go through. One of the things I want to show is, let's do a new report and show you what we have. Again, I'm going to use ODBC. Let this come up. Again, this is for all Power BI. Let's go in. What else do we have on the mainframe, guys? We have for the server, not only metadata, but what? Folk execs.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Very big, very big. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to connect up to my ODBC data source. And I'm going to go to advanced options and I'm going to run a request right here that's leveraging a stored procedure that you have. Now watch this magic, very, very critical. I'm going to run this folk exec that's on the mainframe. Voila, look at this feature. Not only leveraging Resource Analyzer, Resource Governor kicked in because I built a rule and I tried to do a select star. Look what Governor said. One or more relational tests are required. Imagine the resources you can save on the mainframe. Queries that are coming in from these BI tools like Tableau or Power BI will be stopped before they even begin. Money savings, money savings, money savings. Right? So I wanted to show that. The next tool I want to get into, close this, don't save, because I'm moving kind of quick. Exit. Let me close this. The other big tool that everybody uses, Tableau. So let me show you that real quick. Again, here's my magic console that we can see we went in, and look at the favorite edit print. Resource Governor canceled the request. Look at that. Savings, savings, savings. Let's go into Tableau. Here's Tableau, one I built. Again, it's going against that student golden record. Over here, we can go in and say, look at that, on the fly, getting what we need. We can say keep only. We can go back, we turn it off. We go turn it off. Again, in Tableau, go back, we can go over here and say, what do we want to do? We want to keep only. Look at the magic we can do for all you guys and all of our customers. The ability to leverage these other third-party tools to connect against the open data hub for mainframe and get data back. Also, I want to go in and let me clear this. I want to show you another tool that we have in our environment is Spotfire. Let's say Spotfire wants to go against the mainframe data. Over here, I built a little thing, and we can go over here and say, all right, just give me the people with a BS degree. This is going real time against the data. Look at the bottom still spinning, right? It's not smoke and mirrors. It's real time going against the mainframe, and it shows you the degree type. We can go back here. We can turn it off. We can say over here, we only want people with a PhD. And it's running the bottom report. Look at this, what we can do. Another tool. We'll open up, and you see in blue or purple, whatever that is, the people that have a PhD using the same data, the same things on the mainframe. I'm going to go back to the slides to show you. And again, you know, I could talk about this forever. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and say, what else can we do? Right? Let's say from the current slide. And we could monitor. And we could do performance monitoring using our resource analyzer as well as Governor. We can understand the queries, understand the system. We even built in a chargeback mechanism if you want to use it. You can go in and say, oh, ATS group used this much DBMS time or this much server time, and Governor capabilities to protect your system. So I want to leave time for questions. I have, you know, I could talk for hours. So how do we go back? I'm sure there's a lot of questions that people are going to have. How do I open this up again?
Mark, you can stop sharing and then you'll see.
Yeah, see that. Yeah, stop sharing.
Let me see where that is.
It should be at the top on your share bar. Like an orange bar at the top of your screen.
Yeah.
There should be a stop sharing in there.
Perfect, sir.
There you go.
All right. So again, just to elaborate a little bit, all these tools, all the work that was done in the back end, the number of people that were involved is astronomical. Again, this will write SMF records. It'll show you who's running what database time for each particular adapter you're using, and the ability to have thousands of users, developers that know Tableau but don't know mainframe data. Now they can use us, our server, to get at the data, report against it, and do whatever you need to do. Any questions? Hold on, I can't handle them all at once.
They're usually not a shy group, so. So Mark, basically we have a connector from Power BI that talks to the server.
Let's start there for a minute. I had that architecture diagram, but it went over it quick. So what you have is the reporting server on the mainframe. And what you'll do is add the new connector, and that connector allows the tool to connect up ODBC. Maybe I should go through, let me go through real quick. Let me share again and show you how Power BI interrogates the server. Give me a sec to share that. So if we go to Power BI, let's do that. We're going to say File, New. And again, this has nothing to do with us. This is just good old Microsoft, the way it works. We're going to say Get Data. And it's going to say, where do you want to go to? Well, we want to go to the mainframe. So it's reading all my ODBC data sources. And we're going to say ODBC. We'll go here. And notice that it has a plethora of them that I worked with. Right? We're going to go to IBI MVS. And we're going to say, okay. And what it's going to do, there's two modes the developers developed, engineering. When we come in, look what we see, right? It's going to the IBI MVS, ODBC. And again, remember that was going against a system with 100% CPU. Here's all our app folders. And then if you open it up, you see all the masters in there. We can use car for a minute, good old car. It's going against the data, it's evaluating it. But the ability to leverage all the work that you've done already with focus and or web focus, all the magic with DBA and everything else that the Walters helped you with, you can leverage all that as well. So we're going to bring this up. Let me get this out of the way. Its preview is evaluating. It'll come up. It'll load the data. And then you'll see on the right, for the people that know Power BI, you're going to see a list of our metadata is really the semantic level, right? So I say load, right? That's the metadata on top of the data.
Bro, can I ask something?
Sure, please.
How come you're not using the custom connector here? You choose ODBC as opposed
to... I can show that next. I can show that next.
Okay,
yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So this is the generic ODBC. I have a minute, I'll show you the custom connector that allows you to do a direct query. Let's get this up.
Mainframe so fast.
It's running at 100%. So.
Running, yeah. Christie's asked Tableau one of the tools this would be an option for.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's what I wanted to show. Tableau. Damn. Oh, I did show Tableau. Yeah, I did.
You did.
So anyway, if we go here, we can go in and say, I don't know, let's build a table. I'm going to go over here and say, give me the car file, the car field. You can see it running in the left-hand corner. There's the car. We could do country. We could do, look now, see how quick it's running, right? Dealer cost, retail cost. Right? So we could bring that up to show you. We can go in here and change the visualization. Look at that. Visualizing mainframe data from Power BI using the strengths of IBI server. The other thing I want to show, one more thing, as Ephraim reminded me, and thank you, Ephraim, we're going to say new. There's a special file that Ephraim wrote, him and his team, and we're going to bring that up and show you what it can do. So this brings the data down to the PC and leverages the caching. But sometimes the customers want to get operational data, real-time data. So we're going to go over here, and here we're going to say, I think it's database.
Yeah, you can type in IBI, basically.
Yeah.
The same thing.
We have IBI Open Data Hub in beta. So these are things that IBI is working on. So we choose this one, and it's telling you that it's a third party, something we're working on. And we can go here, and we can say IBI MVS, and we could say direct query and say, okay. This allows us to go directly to the query to the data without having to bring it down to the PC or to the client, I mean, you know, their client. Mm-hmm. So all these different options, the same with Spotfire and the same with other ones. Tableau allows you to bring it down either way. You can go against live data or bring it down. But again, you know, we can go here and we can do the same thing. So any other questions?
Yeah, can you, bro, can you continue? Maybe it will be loading faster now. Can you click on a car here and see what happens? Aren't you running with the trace by any chance?
No, I'm not right now. No. But the mainframe's running at 100%. I saw that.
Yeah. There's a question. Let's see. Christy asked again, I may have missed this, but is the Open Data Hub available now or in a certain version?
It's available now in 9.2. So the reporting server, I'd like it to be at, well, let's say 9.x. And the client is available today as well. Like I said, we're working on the Unicode magic that engineering has done and the clustering piece as well. That's in the newer one. But this is available. I'm looking for customers that want to try it. You know, we can get, you know, the AEs involved, the technical people, as well as myself. But imagine this, does everybody feel that this is valuable to the customer? So you have Web Focus to use as well as these other tools. Krista, you seem to be the top question. How do you feel about all this? Can we hear anybody else, Walter, or no?
No, I haven't seen anybody else.
Krista can unmute if she wants to.
Yeah. She says, I think it is great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, this is really a team effort. You know, I drive everybody crazy, you know, the way I am, but everybody's hot on this, everybody, especially with the mainframe data, keeping it alive, allowing them to use the server you already got from IBI and all the focus metadata you've created already. Any other questions? I know we got a couple minutes left.
One more comment from Christy. We are hoping to upgrade to 9 next year, and we will be looking into it.
Right, but you could run these servers in parallel, Christy. Again, if you have Web Focus that's using Web Focus, whatever version, you can install this server in another started task or batch job and access it tomorrow. So you don't need to upgrade to everything. You would just need the updated server. Hopefully that helps.
You got a heads up. Okay.
So IBI
Okay.
is very, very, you know, excited about this. We hope all of our customers, again, we're starting with our customers that we have.
Okay.
And eventually we'll open up to other customers.
Mark, Keith Gage has just asked, in your demo, are you connecting to the Web Focus for server running on the mainframe?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Absolutely. All this is live. The server that I was going against, let me just show you. That's this over here. I'm going to the job here, prefix. Let me just show you.
Mm-hmm.
And this works against the HFS version as well as the PDS version. That's the server I'm connecting to.
And you can see anything that the server can see. Question mark. Flat
Yep.
files.
Absolutely.
DB2.
Anything.
IMS.
Anything.
Yes,
Yep.
that's correct. Yes.
Imagine allowing, remember, excuse me, that Web Focus can get to it today, but as well, we're extending it to the other BI tools because we realize we're not the only player out there. And you might have, like I said, a lot of Tableau developers that would love to get at this type of information. And as well as I can keep track of what tools are coming into that server, what resources they're using, what CPU they're consuming. And again, those specialty engines. Let me go back to the console for a minute.
So Mark, another big data source that people on the mainframe would want to get off the mainframe would be the vSAM.
Absolutely. That's what I was going against. Yep. Don't save. Let me show you the server. Where was it? So this server is the one running on the mainframe that I'm connecting to. You can see all the connections. Also, if we look at this, let's refresh this. Notice that I'm keeping track of the zip and the zip time, how much zip time we're using. Go back and tell management that we're utilizing those specialty engines for the new server, the Open Data Hub on the mainframe. And I keep track of memory, how much above and below the line.
Mhm.
It's going real, guys. Any other questions anything I can elaborate on or help with? Or if you go back and digest it and there's other questions, you can always reach out to me or your AE or SE, and I'd be more than happy to get on a call and or show it. Again, I also enabled MicroStrategy again, and some of the other ones I'm working on right now.
New question, what's the server version needed on the mainframe?
Right, I'd like to be a 9.x. 9.1, 9.2. I would rather have 9.2. But again, this could run on your box. If you're already using Web Focus with an older version, you could install this server in parallel, like Steve has done for me on my team. Look at all the servers I have running, testing. This, I got multiple servers. Some of these are for clustering. Some of these are running the Xfolk. Some are running HFS. So one of these servers are for the field. And there's a million other servers running on our mainframe box. So again, you can go back and install this server tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Now, obviously, if you have any other questions or you think about it, there's going to be 2 more chances at the evaluation that pops up after we're done. You can put questions or comments in there. And you can probably also respond to the email that will come out early next week, which is going to give you the links to the MP, the playback and the PowerPoints. You can respond to that and ask questions at that point too.
So hopefully everybody enjoyed this. I enjoyed presenting it. And I think
you're done.
I think I'm done for now. And I try to keep it to the time. You know, originally I told Walter I need 3 hours. He said, bro, you're crazy. So
I get 3 hours. No.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for staying and listening. And again, hopefully you find this you could take advantage of it for all of the customers that are on the phone.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for coming.
Hopefully we'll see you next
Thanks,
month.
Mark.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Next is
Walter,
July, so
Walters.
join us then. And if you've got some questions, let us know. Also, if you have something you really want us to talk about, please let us know. That's why we're here. We're here to basically help you guys.
And again, if you think of any other features you'd like to see, please let me know.
Okay.
How about update, Mark? Can I maintain back to those files?
You would need the Web Focus client piece, but yes, you could.
Because we've always been able to call in the procedure on a server.
Yep.
All right, we should try that.
Okay.
All right.
And thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your time.